Hey there, and thanks for stopping by. Seriously, it means a lot that you're watching, and if you decide to hit that subscribe button, I'd be genuinely grateful. No exaggeration. All right, let's get started. I began to suspect something wasn't right the moment Megan stopped finishing her morning coffee. That might sound like nothing, but for 8 solid years she always sipped the last drop with a soft hum, her wedding ring tapping the side of the mug like a tiny drum beat. It was her signature morning rhythm, just like the double peck she'd plant on my cheek before dashing off to her meetings in downtown Denver. Lately, though, half the coffee sat cold. The humming was gone, and her phone, face down and silent. I didn't confront her. Not at first. Because when you love someone, it's easy to believe comforting fiction over painful truth. You tell yourself the person you've devoted your life to would never hurt you like that. I'm Caleb Hughes. I handle logistics for a moderately sized freight company. It's steady, honest work, not flashy, but solid. Megan, she's always been a powerhouse, brilliant, cutting, confident, the kind of woman who could silence a room just by walking into it. She worked her way up from assistant to regional marketing director at one of Colorado's top cosmetics firms. We met in our mid-20s, moved in within a year, married by 27. Now we're both 35. And more I've started wondering, were those sharp traits signs of ambition or armor? The distance crept in quietly. Less affection, more awkward silences, smiles that didn't quite reach her eyes. Then came the emergency meetings, the late deadlines. I chalked it up to job stress. I even believed it, until one ordinary night shattered that illusion. It was a Tuesday. Megan was in the shower. I reached into her bag for my phone charger. Her screen lit up. Unread messages flooded in from an account I didn't recognize. I tapped it open. Dozens of Uber receipts. Each one led to the same place. Not the office, not a trendy restaurant. A downtown hotel, the Visage. Same room, same nights. Thursdays and Saturdays. Always the same driver. I didn't yell, didn't storm out. I stepped outside into the cold, sat under the stars, and let silence wrap around me for nearly 30 minutes. Then I got up, walked back inside, and acted like the world hadn't just cracked open. Because heartbreak doesn't always scream. It rots you quietly until calculation takes its place. The next morning, she kissed my cheek like always. I said gently, "Your coffee's going cold again?" She laughed lightly. "I think I'm just over it." I smiled. "Yeah, seems like you've gone cold on a few things." She didn't even blink. That same day, I reached out to someone I never thought I'd contact again, Ryan Westbrook. We were college friends once. Now he's a seasoned PI, the kind who's busted CEOs and uncovered boardroom affairs. I told him I wanted everything: messages, calls, photos, GPS history. I gave him the hotel name. He didn't need to ask why. Just said, "Give me 2 weeks." As Ryan got to work, I doubled down on being the doting husband. I cleaned, cooked, massaged her shoulders after work, all while noting every new inconsistency. The unfamiliar perfume, sweet and synthetic. The hesitation in her voice when I brought up our anniversary. Lipstick I didn't recognize. Bruises she brushed off as stress. She had no idea I was documenting everything, not for a judge, not for revenge, for something far more precise. She thought I was still clueless, but I had already started the countdown. A week in, Ryan texted me, "We need to meet." It's worse than you think. We met at a quiet roadside diner. He slid a plain manila folder across the table like it contained top-secret intel. I stared at him. "You're sure?" I asked. He nodded once. His name's Travis Carver, 42, divorced, VP of brand partnerships at Megan's company. Lives alone, penthouse near Blake Street. They'd been seeing each other for at least 3 months, likely more. Inside the folder was proof, timestamps, photos. One image showed them kissing in the backseat of a car, a black Lincoln. Megan's hands inside his coat, the time and date clearly stamped. Her expression hit me hardest, flirtatious, smug, the same smirk she once gave me when I made her laugh. Now it was his. Each page told a story, texts where she whispered sweet nothings to him while lying beside me, emails scheduling their meetings to dodge suspicion. Even a voice note, left recording by mistake, filled with giggles and low, intimate murmurs. That's when something inside me shifted. Not fury, something more calculated. I saw with perfect clarity she wasn't confused, wasn't caught in a lapse of judgment. She chose this, over and over again. I shut the folder and met Ryan's eyes. Find out everything. Has he given her perks? Money? Special treatment? I want the entire web and the thread that can bring it down. He nodded. One more week. That evening, Megan came home radiant, almost glowing. She tossed her bag onto the couch and said, practically squealing, "You're looking at the new lead for the East Coast luxury brand deal." It was huge, a stepping stone to becoming national director. I faked a grin. "That's incredible news. You deserve it." She kissed me, lipstick marking my cheek. I didn't wipe it away. Instead, I locked eyes with her and said, "Think Travis is proud of you?" She froze, just for a second, then gave a laugh. "Don't start with that again," she muttered, walking off. But I saw it. The hesitation, the beginning of doubt. She sensed I might be onto her. The following morning, I backed up every piece of evidence. One hard drive into a safety deposit box. The other encrypted and stored online. Then Ryan sent more. Turns out Travis had a pattern. He'd been involved with another junior exec, Carly Jensen, who got abruptly transferred after gossip started spreading. There were internal emails, photos, even buried complaints. And Megan's name appeared in some of the threads. Colleagues were starting to connect dots, joking about how she was the latest passenger on the Carver Express. Now I had it all, and I was ready to return the favor in full force. First, I sent an anonymous packet to her company's ethics division. Every detail, documents, redacted sources, timelines, not just about Megan and Travis, but the wider rot beneath the surface. I labeled it urgent, internal misconduct, potential legal risk. Then I mailed a second package, this one to a journalist at the Denver Business Review. It was clean, organized, anonymous. Title: Allegations of Executive Favoritism and Harassment Cover-Ups in Prominent Beauty Brand. And just like that, the spark was lit. Megan had no idea what was coming. That weekend, I pulled out all the stops: perfectly seared steak, velvety garlic mashed potatoes, and her favorite vintage uncorked and breathing. She was radiant, relaxed, smug in that way only someone without a care in the world could be. "Caleb," she said, gently twirling her wine, "let's take a break. Just you and me. Maybe New York?" I nodded, offered the kind of smile that didn't touch my eyes. "Yeah, let's make it special." "You've been burning the candle at both ends," she added, touching my hand with mock sincerity. "You deserve a real escape." All I could think was, you have no idea how unforgettable this escape is about to be. Because the next morning, everything shifted. Travis Carver's name blew up across every internal message thread. By noon, he was put on leave pending an inquiry. By 3:00 p.m., Megan's phone rang. HR. Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Her skin went pale. "What happened?" I asked, glancing at my phone like I didn't care. "Nothing," she muttered, already on her feet. "I need to head to the office real quick." On a Sunday? She didn't bother offering more. Just grabbed her keys and disappeared. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I exhaled. Not because it was over, but because the reckoning had begun. She didn't return that night. Around 11:15 p.m., a jittery text came through. "At Rachel's. Need to clear my head." A lie. She wasn't with Rachel. She was in triage mode, desperately trying to contain the fallout of an affair that had cost her more than she could afford. By Monday, the scandal broke, not via HR, not through a press release. It detonated on LinkedIn. An anonymous ex-employee posted a scathing expose: affairs, preferential treatment, an abusive workplace culture, and complaints that were ignored. No names were mentioned. But the images Ryan had leaked to a reporter? They didn't need labels. Within minutes, commenters started piecing it all together. Megan's name surfaced fast and loud. By that afternoon, clients were either pulling out or demanding answers. Then the board stepped in. Ryan fed me real-time updates. "She's up for questioning tomorrow," he said. "They've got receipts, emails, hotel bookings, even meals on the company card. Travis was reckless." "And Megan?" I asked. A pause. "She's been locked in her office crying all day. Hasn't left once." I should have felt vindicated. But I wasn't satisfied. Not yet. Not until she looked at me and confessed. That night she returned home a shell of the person she'd been. Her face was blotchy, mascara smeared. She didn't greet me, didn't ask why I hadn't texted. Just dropped her bag, collapsed on the couch, and stared at the blank TV screen. "I ruined everything," she whispered eventually. I remained silent. She turned to me. "Caleb, I never meant for it to spiral like this." "Which part?" I asked coolly. "The betrayal? The secrecy? Or the part where you genuinely believed you wouldn't get caught?" She flinched. "Was it only Travis?" I pressed. "Or are there more skeletons?" "No," she said quickly. "Just him. I was exhausted. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. You were always so stable." And there it was. Not a lack of love, just boredom. I'd been too dependable. "I gave you security," I said, "consistency, peace, and you craved chaos." "It wasn't only that," she murmured. "He made me feel seen again, like I mattered. And now," her voice cracked, "now I feel disgusting." I stood, went to the mantel, and picked up a slender envelope, placed it gently on the table in front of her. Her eyes locked onto it. "What's that?" "Everything they have, and everything I gave them, including what I brought directly to the board." I leaned in, voice like steel. "You didn't just betray me. You humiliated me, in front of people who knew and said nothing." She burst into tears. "Please, Caleb, I'll resign. I'll get help. Just tell me what to do." "No," I said, voice stripped of emotion. "You'll do nothing. You'll sit here and watch your empire fall, brick by lying brick." Her hands covered her face. And then I ended it. I walked to the hall, opened the closet, and rolled out my suitcase. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice tight with fear. "I'm leaving." "But this is my mess." "No," I replied. "It became mine when you dragged me through it. And now I'm stepping out." She followed me to the door, panic rising. "Where will you go?" I turned, gave her a faint smile. "Somewhere no one links me to your name." She crumpled, sobbing on the floor. I didn't look back, because the next part of my life had no room for betrayal, only quiet. That night I checked into a hotel under a different name. By morning, her name was everywhere. "VP resigns amid scandal. Whistleblower exposes corporate misconduct." Her professional profiles wiped, her portfolio site deleted, connections unfollowed, endorsements vanished, brands issued statements. As for Travis, indefinitely suspended, pending a full investigation. But I wasn't done. One final move remained. A closing note. Weeks passed. Her fall from grace became yesterday's news. Travis was out. The company tried to move on. What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that I had planted one last seed. Not to end her job, that was done. Not to ruin her image, that had already collapsed. This was aimed at her soul. She believed she could rebuild, reframe the scandal, shift the blame to office politics, rebrand herself as a survivor. She started posting again, motivational fluff, a new profile photo, excited for the next chapter. But there would be no next chapter, because I was writing the epilogue. Ryan had found something huge, something even we hadn't expected. Turns out Travis had promised her a promotion he had no authority to offer. HR emails made it painfully clear. Megan wasn't qualified. Poor evaluations, missed KPIs. Leadership concerns. She wasn't ready, but Travis pushed it through anyway. Special case. Valuable connections. Deep in the archives, we unearthed a draft audit questioning the legitimacy of that promotion. Never submitted, never reviewed. Until now. I assembled everything. Internal memos, performance reports, doctored evaluations, the buried audit, wrapped it all neatly, and delivered it. The final act wasn't about vengeance, it was about truth. This wasn't a heartbreak, it was a calculated exposure born from ambition's rot. I assembled everything, documents, timestamps, discrepancies, proof. Then I slipped it, unsigned, to 3 strategic recipients. The company's ethics division, a former client who had recently pulled their account, and finally, Megan's ex-mentor, a stalwart of professional integrity known for his contempt for anything remotely unethical. By week's end, the whispers had turned into front-page news. Questions bloomed like mold in damp corners. Did Megan Foster seduce her way into the executive suite? Were her results real, or just smoke and mirrors? The headlines were merciless. Disgraced executive accused of data fraud. No firm would associate with her. Recruiters went silent. Her phone, once a constant chorus of opportunity, was mute. Even that shiny industry accolade she proudly displayed in our home, forgotten. The shock wasn't the fallout. It was that Megan never suspected I was behind the unraveling. Not until she turned up at the doorstep of my new place, haunted. She looked shattered, hair wild, eyes rimmed with fear, makeup smudged from crying. "It was you," she said softly. I didn't respond, just stood there blocking the doorway like a closed chapter. "I know it was you, Caleb," she said again. "You waited until I was down, then you ended it." I folded my arms. "No," I said, steady and cold. "You broke it all yourself. I just made sure someone was watching when it collapsed." Her lips trembled. "Is this your way of erasing me? Pushing me out of existence?" I took a slow step forward. "What I want," I said, voice like glass, "is for you to see what you really did. This wasn't a lapse in judgment. This was betrayal, wrapped in routine. You sat across from me, ate the meals I cooked, shared dreams, all while living a lie." She turned away briefly, wiped at her face. "You made me feel like a tool, something to be used, not seen." Her apology came in a whisper. "I'm sorry." This time it didn't sound like an excuse. I gave a single nod. "I hope that sorry stays with you, not out of spite, but maybe it'll be the first honest thing you carry." She didn't reply, just stood there, emptied. "I'm moving on," I told her, "and you'll remain here, among the debris you created." I shut the door, locked it. That night I did something unexpected. I booked a one-way ticket to Portland, a quiet town just beyond the city's reach. A job offer I'd once laughed off had come through. Director of operations at a startup focused on sustainable transport. Honest work, anonymity, a chance to breathe again. Before I left, I wrote Megan a final note. No threats, no files. Just this. "I loved you more than you ever deserved, but now I love peace more than I thought possible. Goodbye." And that was that. The house? Sold. The photos? Deleted. Her number? Blocked. I didn't gloat. I didn't share the scandal online. I didn't need applause. My victory was silence, and I hoped it echoed in her mind forever. Portland welcomed me with overcast skies, not gloomy, but soft, weather that suited reflection. I rented a small cottage at the town's edge, nothing flashy, just enough. The job was legitimate, the people kind. No one asked about my past. No one pried at old scars. Here, I was just Caleb, not him, not her ex. For the first time in ages, I felt weightless. I began running again, not to flee, but to feel alive. Dawn jogs on wet pavement. I cooked for myself. I read for hours. Behind the cottage, a narrow trail led to a bench draped in moss, overlooking a quiet valley. Sunday mornings were mine, coffee in hand, solitude in bloom. Megan never reached out again. She couldn't. I'd vanished. New number, new email, new world. Occasionally, word drifted in, through Ryan mostly. She had tried clawing her way back into the industry, applied to smaller companies, none bit. Her name was a red flag. A tentative offer once surfaced, but it crumbled when old HR notes leaked. Not my doing, I was long gone. Her empire fell, brick by brick. Eventually, I heard she moved back to Illinois. Someone who knew her sister mentioned it. She wiped her social media clean. No more curated joy, just nothing. Sometimes silence is the sound of a person meeting the truth in the mirror. Meanwhile, I rebuilt. Slowly. I didn't date, at least not immediately. Not from fear, but from necessity. I had to remember who I was without waiting for a reconciliation that never came. I let strangers in. A barista who remembered my name. A grocer who handed me extra apples just because I looked tired. Kindness in quiet forms. Healing that didn't announce itself. Then I met Erin. She was Megan's opposite in every way. Her gaze felt honest. Her laugh had no agenda. She asked questions like, they mattered. She didn't play affection. She gave it freely. We met at a community art night. She spilled paint on my jeans, made it up to me with cookies. It was simple, real. Eventually, I told her a sliver of the story. Not all of it, just enough. She didn't dig for scandal. She didn't romanticize the pain. She just held my hand and said, "You didn't deserve that. I'm glad you walked." And in that moment, I finally understood what peace sounded like, not silence from grief, but from grace. Months passed. Then one evening, a letter arrived. No return address, just my name, penned in handwriting I'd tried to forget. 3 pages, Megan's voice, written down. I've lost everything. You know that. But the worst part isn't the career or the shame. It's knowing I ruined the one person who truly saw me. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I wouldn't accept it if you offered. I just needed you to know. I'm sorry. Not just for what I did, but for who I let myself become. If this is the last thing connecting us, I hope it brings peace. I hope you found something better. Something real. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I folded the letter, tucked it in the drawer with old receipts and forgotten keys. Because I no longer needed closure, I had built my own. And Megan? She would spend her life learning that forgiveness doesn't erase the consequences. It just closes the door. That was my justice. Not spectacle, not flames, but distance. A divide so wide, no apology could ever cross it. And that was the end of us.